people with real jobs.
Hello?
Self-employed people. Which do you want to be? This is Certifiably Unemployable. It's time to fire the boss and become self-employed. Maybe you need a push to get that business or side gig going that you've been dreaming about for years. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can listen to stories and get experience from people who've done it. Get ready to change your life. Broadcasting from the compound, this is Certifiably Unemployable, and this is Sean Dean.
And welcome to Certifiably Unemployable. Once again, I'm your host, Sean Dean, and thank you for joining us this week as we talk about business and hypnosis. So before we get into introducing our guest, I want to remind everybody to check us out at certifiablyunemployable.net. Become a VIP, get exclusive materials, get exclusive discounts. We recently just launched our merchandise line, all sorts of motivational quotes, different things on t-shirts, tank tops, all sorts of stuff. So I encourage you to check out that merchandise. And if you become a VIP on our email list, you will also receive an exclusive discount to anything as far as merchandise in our store. So today we're talking to Hypnosis Doug Sands. He's a consulting hypnotist who helps adventurous people all over the world overcome mental struggles using hypnosis. Doug is also the host of the Making Meaning podcast, which is a show that interviews top adventurers to learn how they've built their ideal life to inspire listeners to start building their own. And you might be asking, why is Sean having a hypnotist on Certifiably Unemployable? Well, a lot of what we do as an entrepreneur, as a business builder, it has to do with behavioral techniques. Understanding other people's stories is also important. Mindset and so many things. And plus, who doesn't think of being hypnotized as something that you don't know if you want to try, you don't know if you want to do, but it's exciting nonetheless. So Doug, welcome to Certifiably Unemployable. Thank you so much for reaching out to us, and thank you so much for being a guest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right. So first, I want to hear about you. I want to understand who you are, what got you where you are, what made you an entrepreneur, and what got you into hypnosis.
You got it. So I call myself the meaningful life hypnotist because I really work with people who are looking for that purpose in their life. And that was my own story. I was struggling with mental health issues, and I was bouncing around the US doing a bunch of different seasonal work, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I ended up on a really dangerous hike in New Hampshire. I got lost in a blizzard, and that experience shook me up so much that I realized I had to do something different with my mental health. I couldn't just rely on medication or therapy to fix me. And so I started looking at different tools that I could use to manage that. I stumbled across meditation, and I fell in love with that. And when I was researching the science behind meditation, I realized there was a very strong connection to this idea of hypnosis. And like most of my clients, they often come in and they say, I didn't really realize that it was more than just a stage show gimmick. And when I realized that it was actually helping people, that it's got more than a century of science behind it to back it up, I was hooked. And so I got certified in it, and now it's what I do full time.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you've been doing it full time how long now?
About 2 years.
Okay. And what did you do before you got into hypnosis?
I did all kinds of odd jobs. I was one of those people who, I guess I was meant to be an entrepreneur. Like I couldn't fit in anywhere else. Like I would be in a job for 3 to 6 months and I would get so fed up with it. And so it would drive me out of that. So I've done all kinds of things. I've done construction work. I've done driving propane and other kinds of work. I've done writing. I've done accompaniment. I've got some skills in piano. So like all across the board. And it wasn't really until I found hypnosis and found something that I wanted to bring to people that I realized like I want to be an entrepreneur and actually have a say in what course my career goes in.
Okay, absolutely. So let's talk about the history behind hypnosis. I mean, where does it originate? How does it, what made it what it is today? Tell us about that.
You bet. going way back, hypnosis has been around all the way since ancient Greece, and that's actually where we get the name hypnosis, because the god of sleep was Hypnos. But the science behind hypnosis in the 1850s or so, around the Victorian area in Europe, the uh, the scientific community really started studying hypnosis. In 1892, the British Medical Association actually approved it, and I believe they were the first major medical association to really list it as a treatment modality. And they went a step further a couple years later and recommended that all people, all doctors working with mental health issues should get trained at least 144 hours in hypnosis practices. Since then, it's been approved by the American Medical Association, the National Institute of Health, even the National Cancer Institute lists it as a treatment modality. And so we've been studying the brainwave patterns behind it recently in past couple decades. And it's just been fascinating to see this technique that we've had for so long. It's been fascinating to really understand just what it is that makes it work.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Especially when you talk about the medical field and you talk about the cancer. I mean, I don't know anybody that hasn't been affected by some sort of mental illness, maybe not themselves personally or a family member, but of course, cancer. Cancer affects so many lives. And so to be able to link hypnosis to helping those causes, that's fantastic. So naturally, it's something that you can instantly become passionate about. But when we talk about hypnosis and being an entrepreneur, how do you feel that it would most benefit people that are self-employed? Because keep in mind, we're talking to the entrepreneurs on this show. A lot of people are just starting their business. Maybe they're just looking to fine tune and just sharpen their axes in their tool chest and make things a little sharper. So maybe you could talk about both sides of it. The brand new entrepreneur, how to get how to bring hypnosis into their world, and also the veteran entrepreneur.
Yeah, the brand new entrepreneur, that's an excellent place to start with hypnosis, because when we're just starting out in our businesses, we've got so many limiting beliefs, got so many ideas of what business, I should say, actually is, and it doesn't often line up with reality. And so hypnosis in that case is very effective at changing those limiting beliefs and then building confidence. One of the most effective uses for hypnosis is in building confidence. It's used all the time for public speakers and for business CEOs. It's just a very rapid way to change ourselves at the identity level. And for the more seasoned entrepreneur, someone who's been at this for a couple of years, self-hypnosis is extremely effective at getting yourself in the zone. And whether you, like I do, I actually do self-hypnosis every single morning to clear up any issues and then get myself in the right frame of mind for that day. If you want to work with a hypnotist to learn self-hypnosis, or if you just want to build in some anchors to get yourself in that fired up state whenever you need to, I don't know if it's a business meeting or a negotiation, whatever you need, hypnosis can really make those neurological connections very quickly for you.
Okay, so I guess it would help a lot with mental clarity, things of that nature, right?
You got it. Yeah.
Okay, so how would you compare hypnosis to meditation, or maybe doing yoga, whatever people do as their daily routine? Because one of the things that people notice all the time, that when they do the same thing every day as their routine, sometimes they're like, all right, well, this is getting a little old. I might want to switch it up a little bit. And being an entrepreneur, you have to be very structured as far as your schedule and everything else in order to have the true success. So sometimes coming off of that is difficult. So have you found that people that meditate or people that do yoga, have you found this to be a little more effective, or would it complement that, or?
I would say it complements it. In my own personal journey, I went from meditation to just doing hypnosis in the mornings, and I found that they're two kind of different mental muscles. And so now I do both, like 20 minutes meditation, 10 minutes hypnosis as a morning routine. And the link between meditation and hypnosis, when you're in solo meditation, your brain waves are speeding up. A lot of the times we think they're slowing down, but we're actually increasing the speed of our focus in our mental abilities. The gray area between hypnosis and meditation is guided meditation. And in that, our brain waves are slowing down just as they are in hypnosis. And some guided meditations actually do get entrepreneurs to that really deep theta state where hypnotic change is possible. And so a lot of guided meditations, they will bring in tools from hypnosis without even realizing that's where they're coming from. And so for someone who has experience in meditation, I would say hypnosis, it feels a lot like that, except you are making changes at the neurological level. You are literally rewriting the proteins of your brain. Every single time we access a memory, we are rewriting that memory in the the physical structure of it. And using hypnosis, we are simply able to do that intentionally.
Okay. All right. So this would be something you could add to your daily routine. Now, what about hypnosis and something like yoga or even just a daily exercise routine?
Hypnosis and yoga is absolutely, they definitely go well together. A lot of yogas bring in that guided meditation idea, that aspect to it already. And as for exercise, hypnosis is extremely effective at both exercise performance and weight loss. It's pretty famous for that. But it's not quite what people think. It's more so about changing the identity and the motivations that get a person out to exercise. If a person is struggling with that motivation, hypnosis is a very easy way to build that and make it more of an unconscious habit, so they don't have to fight themselves every single time to get on the treadmill or whatever it is.
Okay. Okay. Because when you see snippets of hypnosis on TV, you always see I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to snap my fingers and you're going to turn into a dog and you start barking and stuff. I mean, is that the reality of what hypnosis is, or is that just the slapstick part of it?
That's really the slapstick part of it. There's 2 areas of hypnosis. There's stage hypnosis and there's therapeutic or like clinical hypnosis.
Okay.
And they work on the same basic processes. Like once you learn one, you can do the other effectively. The difference is that when you're doing it clinically, you are bringing in tools from psychology and neuroscience. The difference is what you do when you get into that hypnotic state. When a person is on a stage show or on TV and a hypnotist gives them a suggestion, that is very different from a hypnotist in a clinical setting giving someone a suggestion for better health or more motivation or anything like that. And the one caveat I always mention with stage shows is that people often ask, is this mind control? And it's not possible, because your mind at its core level is always working to keep you safe. The people who are doing that ridiculous things like barking like the dog on stage, there's that unspoken contract. Like you knew beforehand, you're probably going to do some ridiculous things on stage, and you agreed with that before coming up. And when you're in the therapy room, that's not part of the agreement. You're expecting to make powerful changes around mindset, and that's actually what happens.
So on those stage shows, so these people barking like a dog, is that legitimate? Are they actually being hypnotized to think they're a dog or bark like a dog?
So I've been on both sides of the stage show. I've been both the hypnotist and the volunteer, and it's a little bit different for everyone. Some people say they really don't remember anything of a stage show. Some people say they were aware the entire time, and it was simply like they heard the suggestion and they couldn't be bothered not to ignore it. Personally, in my experience, I was in a trance-like state, and I heard every single suggestion. I was aware the entire time, and I'd hear the suggestion, and it was as if part of me was responding before I consciously thought, do I really want to do this? I remember he gave me a suggestion once to be a cactus, and I felt my arms moving before I realized, like, what does a cactus even look like?
Right.
At the same time, like, he was not giving me any suggestions that broke my moral code. And so you notice in all of those stage shows, they are very tame. Like, they are funny, but they are not breaking that moral code, because otherwise it would bring those people out of hypnosis.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But that's the first thing you think about when you think of, going to see a hypnotist. You're like, oh man, I want to see him do some crazy stuff, because it's, us as humans, we enjoy that. It's fun and it's entertainment. So with that being said, of course, we're gonna, maybe do a couple of different exercises or talk about a couple of different exercises that entrepreneurs can maybe do on their own, and we can offer them. But as a reminder, I want everybody to know that if they have questions, certain things that they want to ask Doug, you're watching this on YouTube, watching this on Facebook, or even just listening, you want to get in touch with me, I can put you in contact with Doug. Now, Doug Sands is the consulting hypnotist on our show today, and he actually is the owner of Anywhere Hypnosis. So tell us what Anywhere Hypnosis is all about.
Yeah, I actually built Anywhere Hypnosis to be completely online even before COVID happened, which I got lucky in that sense. But my life is really adventurous, and so I travel quite a bit. I'm usually only in a place 3 to 6 months before finding somewhere else to live in the world. And so I built it to work with clients over Zoom intentionally. And a lot of hypnotists at that time, they were saying you can't really do that. Like Zoom sessions are not as effective. And now that COVID has really forced people to, or hypnotists, to work online, we're seeing a reversal in that. The big names in hypnosis are now going exclusively online, kind of like I'd been doing from the start, to do this and still bring that change to people. And they're finding that people are able to make, in some cases, even more powerful changes because they're in their comfortable setting. You're not coming into some strange person's office that you've never met before and sitting in a chair that thousands of other people have sat in. You're in your bedroom or in your living room, and you are comfortable in that setting. And Anywhere Hypnosis, I really focus on helping people find that meaning and overcome mental illnesses. But I also do work around weight loss and smoking cessation. Anything you really see a hypnotist for. I'm also expanding into, I mentioned the Cancer Institute. I'm working with a couple groups around the US to really bring that into the cancer field.
Okay. So let's talk about how you pivoted during the whole COVID thing, because I know I wanted to ask you about that earlier, and then you just brought it up. So you designed your business to be completely online and not person to person interactive prior to COVID. So did you really even have to make a shift when COVID-19 happened and the pandemic happened?
I did. So I had built up two sides of my business. I do both the clinical side and the stage shows. And as a note on that, people ask, like, does that make you a less trustful hypnotist or something? And I tell them, if I can hypnotize 30 complete strangers on a stage, imagine what we can do when you've got my full attention in a session. So that's the note on that. But I'd really devoted most of my energy into that stage show side of it, because though I built it up, I wasn't really having I didn't have a lot of clients yet. And I was really excited by the stage shows, and the online side was just kind of dwindling at that point. But when COVID happened, my entire calendar got wiped off the map. And so I had to refocus all of my energy very quickly into this thing that I'd just kind of gotten started on the side. And while I had that foundation, I had so many different mindset shifts to overcome and really to break down. And I used both self-hypnosis and working with other hypnotists to really get myself through over that hump of changing up my business. And now that we're in the middle of COVID-19 and I've really established that side of it, I think it's what I more enjoy than stage hypnosis. I think once things start opening, I'd love to get back into it, but I think this is probably going to be the core of my business from now on.
Well, I can see how doing the one-on-one through Zoom would be a lot more effective in my mind than doing it in person, because number one, they're in their home, like you said, so they're more comfortable. I mean, think about so many businesses right now are 100% relying on Zoom, conference calls, more so than they were before. You even look at like the court system. I was talking to somebody the other day about, as an attorney, he's got all these court cases, and all the stuff that's happening is through Zoom. And they're also finding that these hearings and stuff are being better attended. They're a lot more efficient because now people, they don't feel, well, I got to go to the courthouse. They're all nervous. They're in their natural environment. And for the person that would be defending themselves or whatever else, on this misdemeanor, small stuff, I would much rather hang out at my house and be like, yeah, well, this is kind of what happened. Because, naturally your behavior is going to change when you're in the courtroom, you're in front of a judge and everything else. So I can imagine, when you go to the doctor, you go to the chiropractor, you see a psychologist or whatever, your breathing pattern, everything's going to change. So being able to do what you do with someone at home, I think would be much more effective. And I've been saying since the beginning of COVID that I think that's going to be one of the positive things that's come out of this pandemic is people allowing themselves to expand through online efforts and different things. And I think it's going to enable people to communicate in a different level. So I think that's great. So what kind of things can you share with the listeners, Doug, for them to start doing things right now? If they want to reach out to you, can you offer them a consultation? Because how do they know that they even need a hypnotist in the first place? How do they know hypnosis is effective? So maybe first you can tell us how to connect with you. Maybe if there's something you can offer our listeners for them to see whether they're a good fit for you or not, or you're a good fit for them, vice versa. And then maybe we'll give them some techniques and some guidance, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Probably the best place to find me is on my Instagram, because that's where I give out what I call free Hypnosis Fridays. And that's where I'm bringing in tools that I usually use with client sessions and giving them to a general audience.
Okay.
And my handle is at Making Your Meaning. There are a couple different ones, from anxiety relief to seasonal affective disorder. And there's a bunch of them on there. And if someone wants to learn more about working one-on-one with me, I'd send them to my website. That is anywherehypnosis.com. And I used to have just an open phone line, but now I've got a booking system. So just schedule in a 15-minute strategy session there. And that's where we'll talk about really what it is you're looking to work with, and is hypnosis actually a good fit for you.
Now that 15-minute session, that's completely free, right? That's
completely free.
All right, yep. Perfect. Yeah, because you've got to know if the two of you are going to be comfortable to work together in the first place, right? So perfect. Appreciate that. And your Instagram again is Making Your Meaning, right? At Making
That's
Your
correct.
Meaning. All right, perfect. So let's talk about some things that maybe they could do right now while they're listening, or maybe they can try some things tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever's convenient for them. Maybe you can give us maybe 2-3 point, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you bet. So the tools that I'm going to give, they're not directly hypnosis, but they come from hypnosis. There's this field of study called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. It's probably more common than people realize, because business people have been bringing this in and calling it different things all the time. Like Tony Robbins is an NLP practitioner. NLP, it was developed by studying hypnotists. So you can bridge that however you want to bridge that. But the technique that I really want to give entrepreneurs is an NLP technique called taking out the trash. And this is something I do every single night. And what this does is it trains your brain to give you more of what you want and less of what you don't want. Our brains, they speak to us in images and feelings. And that's why we get that gut feeling when something is wrong. If it could communicate to us in English or in our language, it would do that, but it doesn't really know how. And so when we're using techniques like this one from NLP, we are using things like visualization and creating emotions to essentially communicate with the brain in a language it understands. And so every night when I go to bed, for like 5 minutes, I just run through the events in my day. I point out the ones that were good and the ones that were bad, the ones that I want more of, I should say, and the ones I want less of. And the ones that I want more of, to communicate to my brain that I want more of them, I change the building blocks of that memory. I imagine that as a picture or a movie in my mind, and then I bring it close. I literally use my hands to expand it out, because when you bring in the physical body, it adds a little more concreteness and really improves this. So to do this, just imagine bringing that image, that movie, close to you. Make it bright, make it vivid. Imagine seeing out of your own eyes. We call that associating into the event. And when you do that and simply leave it there in your imagination, your brain gets the image or the picture that this is something you want more of. And the opposite is also true. The events that you don't want in your life, whether it was an argument that you had that you weren't very resourceful about, or it was messing up your schedule and something along those lines, make that image very small, push it away from you. Literally push your hand away from you and imagine that image receding. And then when you've got it there, just leave it there. Make it black and white, make it grainy, make it look unappealing. And this is all going off of how you're feeling. When you're working with these submodalities tools, it all depends on the person, how the person codes that information. Like for some people, they will get the biggest emotional shift from pushing it away. For some people, it's in shrinking it down. And other people, it's making it black and white. And the last key is that when you are, the negative images, the negative experiences you don't want, make sure that you are disassociated. Make sure that you're not looking out your own eyes, but that you can see yourself in that image. And that's what I do every night. It's taking out the trash, and I just leave those as they are. The good pictures, very close and very bright, and the negative pictures, they're very small away, very far away, very small, and a little bit black and white. So that's one of the things that I found is most effective at slowly changing your state and getting yourself to the right mindset. The other tool I'd love to share is along those same guidelines, but it's called the pattern interrupt. And there are many different ways to do this. And every single day when we get into our routines, we are running patterns. Our mind is a pattern making machine. It's doing this all the time. And we often get into these negative patterns of negative limiting beliefs or unresourceful states. And so when you notice you are in that unresourceful state, what I tell my clients is to literally put out your hand like you're saying stop to someone and tell yourself, stop. That creates that little mental gap. And when you have that gap, you can interrupt that pattern and choose to go somewhere else. And so that, again, when you notice you're running that loop, literally just put up your hand, tell yourself stop. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just say it in your mind and you'll get the same message. And then when you get that brief gap when your mind's like, oh, what's going on? You can choose to go a different direction and be a little more resourceful in that moment.
Okay. Helpful hints. So pattern interrupt was the second one you talked about. And then the first one was taking out the trash. Got to give it a try. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Once again, we're talking to Doug Sands. He's the consulting hypnotist. You can visit him at anywherehypnosis.com. We will, of course, have that link on the podcast here. And once again, if you want to reach out to him, you can find him at Instagram at Making Your Meaning. He gives that free tip every Friday, so that's always helpful. Any closing remarks before we wrap it up today, Doug?
I would say for the entrepreneurs listening that hypnosis is such an amazing tool. I mean, it's got so much science behind it. And if you don't want to use it, I guarantee your competitors will be using it. It's something that is gradually been really incorporated into the business mindset. And if you go to the higher up levels of the CEO areas, they're already using this. They're just calling it visualization or breathing techniques or whatever it is. But it's the same techniques. It's just a very rapid way to change your mindset towards what you want in life.
Well, I appreciate it. And we want to thank you for being on Certifiably Unemployable. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. So make sure that you take advantage of that consultation that you're going to get with Doug to see if hypnosis is a fit for you. I believe as an entrepreneur, we are open-minded people, and before we actually make a decision, we have to educate ourselves on the process. So take advantage of that 15 minutes, get an opportunity to meet Doug, get an opportunity to let him know what's going on in your world and how you two can work together and make your business even stronger. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content with someone you know that may need it, and we appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to be certifiably unemployable. Until next time.
You've been listening to Certifiably Unemployable. Ready to fire the boss yet? You're on your way. Sean has been self-employed for over 20 years. So if that's something that you want to do, something you've been dreaming about for years, Sean has all the knowledge, good, bad, and indifferent. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook and Instagram at Certifiably Unemployable. Find us on YouTube and at www.certifiablyunemployable.us.net.org and .info. Till next time, this is Certifiably Unemployable, signing off.